If you feel like there is no way out, and if you feel hopeless, and if you think that you're coming from poor background, let me say this to you. I grew up with a single mother. We live in a one-bedroom house. I mean, there are many nights I go to my bed hungry. We had no hope. But I had an ambitious mother who would teach certain values to us, and I grabbed onto it. And if I don't tell you my story, you wouldn't know. But let me say this to you, that if you feel like there's no hope for you, don't believe that. We're all born with a purpose. We're all born to do something great on this planet. I moved to Canada in 1992. I was a young man who was a little bit disenfranchised. Literally, you don't know who you are. You're trying to find you. Not having a father involved in my life, I was trying to find me. Part of my life, I felt abandoned. I felt rejected. All of those feelings come through your mind as a young man because you're trying to say to yourself, how come no one loves you? Talking about parents. And strange enough, I started reading a lot. I started watching a lot of videos on myself as a black male. And I used to watch a lot of, the Louis Farrakhan and the Malcolm X videos, because this is where I heard wisdom and oratory, articulation at a level that I could never understand that black men could speak of. And I was overwhelmed. I was really overwhelmed by the message and the ideas and the thought. And I remember one day I was working and I was at Spadina and King Street. And every evening when I parked, I would always read in the book. And I never knew that this Jewish man was watching me. And one day he got up and he said, I see you read every day. And God is going to guide you along to the next level where He's going to open up your mind for you to gain wisdom. And as you know, Jewish people, they're people of the book. Not just the fact that, they have the Abrahamic promise from God that their seed would cover the entire earth. But it's the fact that Jewish people, they always read and study and they go for education. And one thing you can't take away from that, people, they're organized, they're educated, and they know how to do business. And when he said that to me, I remember I used to go to this church at Oakwood and Vaughan. And I remember there's a man called Dr. Blake. And Dr. Blake was one of those prominent men in Toronto. He started the Higher Marks Black School. It was at Bathurst and St. Clair to help black people to know themselves and to educate themselves. And, my ex basically introduced me to him because he said, my husband is reading so many books, and because of that, I want you to guide him. And let me tell you, people, I became a lover of books. I love books. I read so many books. Man, I just couldn't wait to get my hands on books. And the more you read, the more they expand your knowledge, the better you become. And I read a lot. I've literally found myself through reading. And one day, we arranged to meet. I mean, Dr. Blake and I. And I hope one day he and I will get to sit down and do a video. And when we arranged to meet up, I brought a suitcase of books. Suitcase. And he looked at me with my suitcase of book and he said, wow, very interesting, you know? And he went through all of my books and he said, you know, I mean, yeah, you know, you're well learned. You're reading a lot. You're gaining knowledge. But then he said that even though I'm gathering so much knowledge, is that I am not accredited, meaning that the university has not authorized my learning. So he said, I have to go to university. To me, it's like, go to university. Here I am. I was about maybe, say, 29 years old and haven't been to school for many years. Here I am to go to university. And, you know, when you're gaining a certain level of knowledge, you become bold. And I listened to him and I contemplated it. And I took his counsel. I applied at University of Toronto, and flatly they rejected me because, you know, the acceptance letter I wrote, sentence structure was off, grammar was bad.
Oh my God.
I didn't have the intellectual dexterity or know-how to be accepted into University of Toronto. And I applied to York University. And I'm going to actually do a video on my letter and the response and my communication with the university. I'm going to do a video on that. And, you know, I applied to them and they rejected me at all. And I challenged them by challenging the argument in a logical manner. They had no defense. And that's when they accepted me. And here I am with a young family. Here I am working. And here I am with a big head that gained so much knowledge. I have to get accredited, meaning that I have to go to university to be recognized. And people, yes, I applied and they accepted me and I started university. Let me say this to you people. University of Toronto was right. Not been to school for around, say, maybe 9 to 10 years or more. And then now, here I am, willy-nilly, off the street, applying to university. Don't know how to create a thesis. Don't know how to argue a point. Grammar is poor, as you can hear sometime in my articulation sometimes. You know, as Jamaican, you drop the S and you drop the T and your sentence structure is off. You can still hear it in my mainframe today because that's how we communicate, because it's patchwork. So basically, when I went to universities, that it was very, very difficult. People for the first year. For the first year, people, it was hell.
Oh my God.
Working at nights, having a family, gotta reach classes at around 8 in the morning. That's not easy. That was hard. And let me say this to you people, you know, here I am, Mr. Knowledgeable, think I know it all, and going up against real knowledge, formal education. And man, the first grade I got was so bad in my humanities class. It was so bad. I was humbled. I was floored. I was up against the machine. Socially learned, now competing with formal education. And let me say this to you, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I could feel it in my gut. Because you're trying so hard, you're working at nights, you're studying, the papers are coming. I'm doing maybe about 5 courses at that time. 5. So sometimes you can't even read the books. You go to the The bookstore, you buy so many books and you can't even read them all because you have family. You're doing a job. You're working at night. Where do you get time to write the papers? In the midst of all of that, you have to become creative. So when I meet up with Dr. Blake sometime, literally I'm almost like crying because it was difficult. And he tried to help me how to write a thesis, how to write a paper, how those things, you know, your introduction, your thesis argument, and how to argue the argument. People, I never knew those things. But there's part of me that would not allow me to quit. I couldn't quit. They say that the first year in university is when you have the largest dropout. Largest dropout is the first year. But part of me, I believe it's God that brought me these connections, and I couldn't quit. People, I could not quit. There's something that was in me that said, if you start this job, you will finish it. And people, I squirm and I wiggle and I bob and weave, and the pressure and the low grades was just overwhelming, but I could not quit. I battled through, and after a few months, I started to learn how to write a paper. I started to argue some points. And then I started to get the basics and the traction. I majored in politics and my minor was sociology. However, my major was sociology first. But then I said, I'm from the underclass. I have a good understanding how the underclass works. I majored in politics because I want to know how power delegates. I wanted to understand the power structure. And that's why I put my major to politics. I was going to do my LSAT because I was going to go into law because I wanted to literally give back to Jamaica. I wanted to go back and get involved in politics. And my ex-aunt, who was the lawyer in Jamaica, she said to me, Rich, don't go into politics in Jamaica because politics is settled by the gun. So that is why I backed down. But there's always a fire in my heart to give back to Jamaica. I invested heavily in Jamaica from around 2002, 2003. And I invested heavily, a few properties, real estate. I've lost a lot of money because of, nefarious actions by the builders and people ripped me off. But that's beside the point. And people, I pushed through. I pushed through by the grace of God. But there's something from a spiritual point of view that you will not quit. You will finish the job. And people, I struggled, and after the first year, the second year, my grades started to go up, until I got a letter from the dean. I became the top, the top maybe say 5% of the student body. So I had to go see the dean. And by doing so, I was recognized for my great effort in my education from where I was coming from. And it was very, very nice. It was humbling to know that here I am, a buffoon, who challenged the university, and now I am here getting a letter to see the dean. And it was a beautiful experience. And people, I struggled through. And still doing the same job. Had a family, the pressure. I graduated with honors. Graduated honors and distinction. And nobody. And why I'm doing this video, I'm saying to you who out there, my parents never sent me to university. In fact, I am the only one on both sides of my family, my father's side and my mother's side. I'm the only one who finished university. I'm the only one who ever went to university. And my parents never financed it. I had to work at night and finance myself to university. So if you see me today accomplishing something, don't think it happened overnight. While many people were partying, I was working in the shadows. I went to university at an age that it wasn't about looking for a job. I went to university because I want to expand my mind, my thought process. Because one thing I have learned that the more learned you are, the less likely you are to become poor because you can think. So that's the main reason why I went. And it was a humbling experience, very humbling. I really thank God for that. I finished university and, my head became very big because now, okay, well, you're knowledgeable, da 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 da. And one thing I've learned in life that the more you know is the less you know. Knowledge is infinite. And because of such, you should always stay humble for new knowledge.
Thank you.
Which as I get older, I realize that I have to stay humble. But I make this video because if you're the downtrodden, the disenfranchised, if you feel like there is no way out, and if you feel hopeless, and if you think that you're coming from poor background, let me say this to you. I grew up with a single mother. We live in a one-bedroom house. I mean, there are many nights I go to my bed hungry. We had no hope.
Oh my God.
But I had an ambitious mother who would teach certain values to us, and I grabbed onto it. And the reality of life is that sometimes our environment is like thorns that suck the life out of you. The people you hang around and the community you're in can speak poison into you, and then you start to believe that you're no good and hopeless. It is very important to change the environment you're in. I have learned that there's safety in the midst of wise counsel. I have learned that when you hang around smart people, you become smarter. I also know that when you hang around fools, you'll become fool yourself. So it's very important to always believe in yourself, maintain your values, maintain your integrity. And if you don't have integrity, try to build integrity. Because one of the things that we lack in our community is people with integrity. I mean, the scamming, the cheating, the chopping, the deceptive lifestyle has become a way of life and it becomes the norm. The valueless lifestyle has become the new norm in the 21st century, but you don't have to succumb to that. One of the big reasons why I pursue knowledge is that I never grew up around men and women who had certain values and integrity, and all we wanted was someone to actually speak life into us or show us the right way. And I've always said to myself as a young man that I want to live a life with integrity. I want to be that old griot, those storytellers, who that you can ask almost any question and they can give you knowledge. So this is a reason why I'm taking this time out to do this video. I will add more to it, but I will say this to you again. Never lose hope. Never lose faith in God. Believe in yourself. And always aspire for greatness. Thank you.